Welcome Libra Ascendant, Libra Rising. This is your May full moon video. I'm going to talk about the full moon in May. I'm also going to touch on some of the other energies and some of the other planetary frequencies that are going to be occurring. Right now I'm kind of spreading some sacred sage all around so we clear out any of the old energies, right? Breathe in the light blue, bright light. Exhale the white light. All right? Just release all your tension, your frustration, all your confusion. Let it all go. All right? Refuse to let it bother you. Refuse to let it control you. This full moon is going to be all about our ability to detach. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into some of the many things that are going to be occurring. I'm going to try to make this very knowledge dense and quick if possible. For you guys, what I want to tell you is we're going to talk about how many planets are going to be going retrograde. We've got Saturn retrograding, we've got Pluto retrograding, we've got Jupiter retrograding. We know Pluto has already begun its retrograde, right, at the butt end of April. But coming up in May, after the full moon, I'll give you the date of the full moon, I'll give you the degree, and I will also be making an announcement at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that because this is something that you can be involved in. It won't cost you anything. You won't have to really do anything. It will help you to focus your full moon intentions, and it will be involved with a ceremony. So I'm extending that out to my viewers, and I'll give you more details at the end. We have a Venus retrograding in May, we have Jupiter retrograding in May, and we have Saturn retrograding in May. What I'm going to try to do is pinpoint for you in your chart what area of your life this is in, okay? So let's go ahead and just dive deep into your Libran astrology. All right, Libras, full moon is on the 7th of May. It's going to be at 1720. It happens at 1720 in Scorpio. Okay, so remember, full moons are opposing moon, right? Opposing the sun. So if you got the moon at 1720 in Scorpio, you've got the sun at 1720 in Taurus energy. Where is this in your life? Let's go dive deep and find out. So for Libra Ascendant, Libra Risings, remember these are overall general readings. If there's anything that doesn't make sense, you want to make sure that you comment your birth digits below. Maybe you're new here. Maybe you've just stumbled upon. If so, welcome. All are welcome. We love to cater to each individual viewer, each individual subscriber. It's important that you are heard. It's important that you know that we hear you. It's important that you know that you are not forgotten. So for Libra Ascendant, Libra Risings, your Taurus energy is in your 8th house. It's been a rough day. Your 8th house, okay? So number 8 is where your sun is going to be, all right? So if you have your own chart, if you're familiar with all this, then wonderful. Look at your chart. Find 1720 Taurus energy. All right, that's where the sun is going to be on the 7th. And at the exact opposite of it is going to be your Scorpio energy, which means that you're going to have Scorpio in your 2nd house. Okay, so let's discuss the moon. Scorpio, 1720, 2nd house for Libra Ascendant. What's this going to be about for you? Your 2nd house is what you value. All right, the Scorpio energy in your 2nd house. Okay, Scorpio is all about what other people, right, what their values are, what they have, their energy, their resources. But it's typically shared resources, shared values. If it's your 2nd house, right, because we're talking about complex layers of energy. The 2nd house is my values, what I want, what I desire. The 8th house is shared values, right? It's my significant other's resources, okay? So kid, right, you're young and growing up, typically this could easily manifest as seeing something that others have and holding it of higher value than what you have. You know, it's that whole, the grass is always greener on the other side. Like what you have just never seems good enough. But yet what they have always seems to somehow be better. Okay, and so if you have planets in your 2nd house, this is going to make it stronger. Anytime you have a planet somewhere, it concentrates that energy, and it also brings in the planets are like ingredients in a recipe. So that 2nd house is the pot, right? And then you've got Scorpio in that pot. So you've got this pot or this pan on the stove, and you've got the Scorpio energy there, right? So we've got shared resources, other folks' things. And then if you have planets, those planets are the added ingredients into that pot. And so they all make up your 2nd house. And your 2nd house is how I value, what I love, who I love, the way that I love. So Scorpio can be quite possessive. And when I say that, remember, I'm referring to your second house. I know you're Libra ascendant, but having Scorpio energy, Scorpio, you know, you've got fixed and fixed, first of all, which is fine. It keeps things, you know, it's like you are who you appear to be, right? You've got a fixed house with fixed energy in it. So that part is not complex. However, you experience, you know, it's kind of like having a flipped chart is what we would say, because you've got in your second house, you've got, you know, the eighth house. Okay. So depending upon your layers of sensitivity, your layers of awareness, you know, your soul's evolution, which, by the way, Scorpio energy is your soul's energy. All right. And so when we look at the deep meaning of this household, having the moon there, very, very typically, there could be this awareness, because that's what the full moon does. It brings our awareness about something, our awareness about something that we value. But it's a shared resource value. It's not just your values, but it's things that you know, you share with others. Remember, think of Scorpio energy. It's how we share our energy with another person. Okay, how we share our values with other folks. So fixed energy, fixed water, fixed emotions. Okay, this is the second house. Fixed emotions about things that you value. All right. The full moon is there. If you have other planets there, there could be things that you are working on. There could be things that you are working and you are already aware of, because Scorpio energy is emotional stuff. It's deep, but we hide it. You know, we don't want anybody else to know about it, because these are things that are kind of like our shadow side. Things we're not either real proud of, or it's things that we feel very vulnerable, right? We feel like if we share that about ourselves, someone's going to look at it, they're going to see it, and they're going to be like, get away from me. I don't want anything to do with you. I can't love somebody like that, right? And so there could be tendencies, right? There could be inclinations to have those kinds of fear. Pluto rules Scorpio, so fear is a big word. Scorpio energy is magnificent because it has the ability to die and be reborn, right? So there's like this spiritual death. For some people, they go to the brink of death physically and they come back. Like, they don't die. They make it. They somehow pull through because of Pluto's power. It's so intense. It's the phoenix, right? That Scorpio, that Plutonian energy, it is the phoenix. It's, I have to burn all the way down. There's nothing left. And somehow out of these ashes, something rises up. So when we have a full moon, typically, the light shine, right? The light is shining upon something. It brings it to your level of awareness. And it's a point of releasing. It's a point of, okay, I'm so done of feeling that way. Remember, it's deep emotions. Okay, because it's Scorpio energy, but it's deep emotions about the way that you love something, what you value. Okay, at the opposite end of that full moon is where full moons are about releasing. It's about what we're letting go, what we no longer desire. And if it was in Scorpio, right, the moon was over there shining a light on something that we did desire, and we're realizing it is something I've outgrown. It is something I no longer need. It is something I'm ready to release. It's a culmination, right? The full moon. It reaches that peak. It's its fullest point, right? Done. It's a completion. So we're going to work on what we're releasing. So let's go to your eighth house, right? Because that's the opposite of the second house, and that's that Taurus energy I talked about. The Taurus energy being part of the Wesak full moon, it's the story of the Buddha. And the Buddha, basically, he came into the world very rich. He was born with a family who just had, you know, extreme money, great wealth. Being this deeply spiritual being, he came to the realization that it is through man's desires in which we are in pain, that we literally create our own pains by being attached. His thinking, you know, his teaching was that if we can learn to detach from that which we desire, we then receive liberation. We somehow have a sense of freedom. So when we talk about the Taurus energy, it typically is our power of desire, our power of intention, our ability to manifest. It's magnetic. It says, okay, this is what I want, you know, and I can attract it to me. What's in your eighth house? You know, what do you have there? Look at the degree 1720, okay? And do the same for the degree in your second house. Again, depending upon your birth time, you may be looking at your chart and you're saying, gee, it's not in my second house. And that could be. If you have any questions, just comment and I can clarify things for you. If I don't have your birth digits, comment chart and I can see who you are and I can better understand you. So the 8th house having Taurus there, okay, so if you're in the 8th house, right, it's another mixed bag. It's just like that second house. Right? It's like you've got the same energy in your second house and the same energy in your 8th house. But do you have planets in these houses? That would make them different. Okay? So having Taurus in the 8th house, you also have Uranus there right now. All right? Uranus is transiting through the sign of Taurus, has been for like 2 years, will be for like 5 more years. Okay? So Taurus is, with the Uranus going through, is changing that which we value. Now, is this going to be a part of this full moon? No. Uranus is at 7 degrees, actually 7:14 in Taurus at the time of the full moon. And the sun will be 10 degrees away from Uranus. So what's fascinating about this is that the sun is pretty close to Uranus, but it is even closer to the planet Mercury during the full moon. Mercury will be at 2023. Now, Mercury, any planet that's near the sun like that, its power diminishes. It gets covered up. Mercury represents your thinking, okay? To better find out how you'll be affected specifically for you, find out where your natal Mercury is in your chart and see if it's aspected in a nice way. You know, if it's trining like a Gemini energy, if it's trining, you know, something that you know, any of the earth signs at this time, basically, because we've got Mercury in Taurus. So trines would be, right, that triangle with Capricorn or Virgo energy. That would make a trine, okay? And then that would support your way of thinking. But the whole point is, what are you attached to? What are you ready to let go of? And it is something, it's an emotional attachment to something that you value, and you realize you've outgrown it. You no longer need to hold on to it because you realize there's this chain, right? You're tied down in some way, and it's actually become a slave to it. Okay, you're imprisoned by the attachment. So during this full moon, right, on this day, the story goes that Buddha himself comes down and radiates his energy down to the humans who are in the physical form in the 3D realm. Buddha from the 5D, right, can come down and lower his frequencies, and we are trying to ascend our frequencies so that we can somehow find a way to meet in the middle and so that we can be adaptable and receptive to receive the frequencies that he's emanating. And when these high vibrations come in, all right, it helps us to elevate. Think about that. Just the thought alone of acquiring a sense of freedom from detaching from things that we used to value or things that we realize, you know what, this is actually causing me more pain, right, than pleasure. This is actually a ball and chain. This is actually a shackle on me. And so it's having that realization, having that awareness, and then you grow in your consciousness. And every time we grow in our consciousness, every time that is a desire, we elevate, right? We elevate. When we elevate, we're vertically going like this with our energy. We're vertically ascending our frequencies, okay? And as we vibrate at a higher frequency, we are able to feel and to receive the higher frequencies, that of the Buddha. Okay, so this is the full moon, the first full moon in May for every year. It is called the Wesak festival. We want to know, where is Saturn going retrograde in your chart? Okay, Saturn begins its retrograde. Let me get my paperwork out here. Full moon was on the 7th, and then on the 10th we have Saturn at 157 beginning its retrograde. And it will retrograde all the way back to 25 degrees, okay? Now, when I take a look at your Aquarius energy, that's in your 5th house typically. But you want to look to see where is 157/2 degrees of Aquarius energy in your chart, okay? Because depending upon your rising, depending upon your birth time, this could fall into your 6th house, all right? So you want to check that out and make sure. If you have a Saturn retrograde happening, okay, and it's only at 2 degrees Aquarius energy, it's going to be going backwards into Capricorn energy, okay? So your Capricorn energy, okay, is in your 4th house. So what this means is that it goes from 5th house energy, which is 5th house is my ability to create, to have fun, to have a good time, right? My ability, and it's group energy there too, okay? Well, this has probably been a huge bummer for you, right? Because this is how you had a good time going out, meeting with friends, connecting with friends. Friends would be a big deal. For you, having a good time involves people. All right, you're a Libra ascendant. You know this. You've got Aries in your 7th house, so you're always looking to meet new people, always looking to, and not just any old buddy, but to create significant one-on-one relationships. This would be important. You'd be really good with connecting with people. So what happens if Saturn goes backwards and dips into your 4th house, right? Well, then Saturn takes its restrictions away from your group energy, and it goes back into the 4th, right? Now, again, check those degrees. 25 degrees Capricorn is where Saturn goes back to. Okay, you may not have this in your 4th. You really would need to know. Again, if you don't know, comment below. I will find out for you. But looking at the 4th house is my home. 4th house is also my, it's not just my physical home. It's my inner world. It's this home, right? It's my emotional security, that home. So when Saturn goes back there, typically, Saturn can, we're talking about Saturn and emotions, Saturn tends to be cold, okay? Saturn tends to be distant. Saturn tends to be restrictive, okay? So in a way, you could find that there are things with the emotional world where you feel restrictive, but how it's going to occur, it's going to have to do with your 3D tangible world because it's in Capricorn. If I lost you, just comment. Because Saturn leaves air, okay, it leaves Aquarius energy. Air is thinking, it's communication, right? It's Aquarian energy. It's thinking outside of the box. It's groups. When it slides back into Capricorn, okay, Capricorn is my 3D tangible world, all right? It is my structured, it is my routines. It is things that I've done over a long period of time. Saturn's going back and saying, okay, there's something else that we did not do before that we're going to do again. Now, think about Saturn. Saturn sets up rules. All right, Saturn restricts, but not so much to limit you, but to organize you. All right, Saturn wants things to be organized, to be structured. Pull out the calendar, write down the dates. Like, that's Saturn. Saturn says, okay, if we're going to do this, we have to have a system set up. That's Saturn. It likes to organize things. It wants to put everything in a place. That is Saturn. A place for everything and a thing for every place. That is Saturn, right? So in the home, that would be you in the home, right? Like, okay, I need to start organizing. I need to start doing this. That would be Saturn. All right, so that's not necessarily a bummer, okay? It's not going to be there long, and it will go back into the Aquarian energy. So I'm guessing this will be a nice welcome change because it'll be Saturn leaving that house of fun and joy and laughter. That's the 5th house, fun, joy, and laughter. So if Saturn leaves that, you're going to be able to feel fun, joy, and laughter. It had been restricting fun, joy, and laughter. All right, so Saturn gets to 29 degrees Capricorn at the very beginning of July. I know this is kind of far out. But from the very beginning of July, from those days preceding on, it'll keep going backwards further and further and further. And so the further it gets away from Aquarius energy, the more ease there will be with the groups. All right, the more freedom we'll have as far as social distancing, as far as staying at home. There will likely be more ease then at that point in time. Okay. The 14th of May, Jupiter goes retrograde. It was the 13th of May, Venus goes retrograde. Venus is in Gemini. So your Gemini energy is going to be typically in your 9th house. So your 9th house is your higher learning. It is your beliefs about higher learning. Okay? It's your opinions. The 9th house has to do with foreigners and foreign travel, long distance journey. Okay? The 9th house is your spirituality. Okay, the 9th house is, when I say higher learning, college level learning, okay, alternative learning. It's things that aren't going to be typical. It's going to involve, it could be spiritual teachers, okay, but it can also just be another layer of additional learning for you, all right? Having Gemini there kind of makes it more of a, Gemini energy has to do with our hands. Okay, it's very much about our arms, our hands, our fingers. Gemini is very crafty. It's also very talkative, right? Now, Gemini is where the North Node is moving into. Matter of fact, on this date, we have 2946. The North Node is at 2946 in Gemini. 29 degrees is a critical degree. Critical means we have intense energy there, okay? The North Node is where we're headed. So you'd want to know about this. It's where you're headed. Okay, so when we think about what Gemini means, Gemini is our community. All right, Gemini is our immediate environment. When we're children, it's our siblings. When we're children, it's our schoolmates. When we get to be a little bit older, it's our neighbors, literally, the neighbors across the way, okay? It can also be folks that you live within your home. I have roommates. I'm not related to them by blood, but they could definitely be part of this, and I could be part of this. They're Gemini energy. I'm a person in their life, a peer, okay? A peer. Now, Gemini is very crafty. It does like to talk. So it is all about learning and teaching, being the teacher. But in that ninth house, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? It's this higher learning and this elementary learning or high school learning. It's kind of a mixed bag. But also hands and crafty. Keep that in mind. Now, Gemini energy with the north nodes going there, okay? If we think about that in our community, okay, if you've got more things going on in the community, like, oh, I don't know, teaching people that you are close to. Some people's community is like their church group. It could be a club that you belong to. You know, it could be a Facebook page, right? Stuff like that, exchanging ideas, teaching each other, right? Maybe exchanging simple things, maybe bartering and trading. Let's not forget that about Gemini too. I almost forgot that. Gemini is all about things that business, it likes to, it's got this business mind, okay? I can make this, I can make a product, I can sell it maybe, right? Or I could have a product that I can be productive with something. How do I be productive with my hands? But it's almost like there's a local sharing going on. And this makes sense because the South Node would be in Sagittarius energy. Well, if the South Node, which is what we're leaving behind, it's where we're done, it's where we're not going anymore, is Sagittarius. Sagittarius has to do with traveling long distances, right? And this is now in your third house. So that third house, Sag energy, is kind of a closed chapter in your life. Okay, so it's really fascinating for you Libras because it's like you're closing one chapter and you're opening a new one, yet they're not that different because you've got very almost identical energies in each house, right? Your third house and your ninth house are like almost identical. But the third house is where the South Node is, and that is what we're leaving behind. The ninth house is where you're headed. And so this Gemini energy of still teaching, still relating and being very crafty, being very hands-on, still speaking and communicating, possibly making some money, right? Trading, barter, working more within the community, working with peers even more, right? Or siblings. I don't know if I forgot to say that or not, but it's somehow you doing that brings a higher learning and gives you higher knowledge. There's a wisdom because that's the ninth house. It's wisdom. The ninth house is also our future. Right? It's very futuristic thinking. It's a house that is typically ruled by Jupiter. But because you have Gemini there, then Mercury becomes the ruler of that area. Mercury is our thinking, our speaking. Mercury is Gemini energy. Okay? So if you want to find out more details about that, all you got to do is find out where is your private personal natal Mercury. When you know where your personal Mercury is at, the meaning of that personal Mercury and its location and the sign that it's in is what you put those keywords into your ninth house. Okay? You want help with that? You don't know? Comment below. I will hook you up. Now, your Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter retrograding on the 14th of May. Where is Jupiter in your house? Well, Jupiter is in the sign of Capricorn. So we're going back to that Capricorn energy. Capricorn in your fourth. Having Jupiter there, this is interesting. It's like Jupiter's hands are tied because Capricorn's ruler is Saturn. And Saturn restricts. Okay? Typically, Jupiter in Capricorn is not the best placement for Jupiter. It can't do its usual expanding because it's in a restrictive sign, okay? Jupiter is gas, it functions best in air and up here and futuristic, but Capricorn is the tangible, the 3D. I have to see it to believe it. Right? And so in your fourth house, your emotions are going to be based on that, right? You're going to need to have physical 3D tangible objects around you to be emotionally satisfied. All right? This is just who you are. Keep that in mind, okay? Because if you have planets there, there would be an over-attachment to objects, okay? There would be an over-attachment. Basically, Jupiter can't help us right now. we're not getting the benefits of Jupiter that we normally get. Normally, when Jupiter is in a house, when it's in a sign, we feel its wings wrap around us. And especially if we have things who are trining this earth energy, you know, so Jupiter goes retrograde, and Jupiter on this day, Jupiter's at 27 degrees. So right now, if Jupiter starts going backwards, you know, it might hook up with some other of your earth signs, you know, so that would be if you have things like at 26, 25, 24, 23, I think it goes all the way back to 22 degrees. No, actually Jupiter goes back further. Saturn goes back to 25 degrees of Capricorn and then goes direct. Pluto goes back to 22 degrees Capricorn and then goes direct. And I already did a video about that, but that's happening also in this placement, okay, because Pluto is in Capricorn. So you have Pluto and Jupiter going backward in your fourth house. All right, so there are things you're going to be revisiting, all right? And it doesn't have to be that the world's going to be turned upside down, but if you have something squaring it, you know, like either in the other cardinal signs, that would be Aries or Libra, that will better tell you how it's going to be. Is it going to be very difficult? Is it going to be harsh? Is there going to be a lot of testing? Is there going to be just, you know, anxiety about myself and my significant others? Because it's your Libra and your Aries energy, okay? And you want to see if you have anything that could be squared, all right? And squaring energies are going to be in those cardinal signs, Aries or Libra, like at between 19 and 26, 27 degrees. Jupiter then goes back all the way to 17 degrees Capricorn. I said 19, I lied, 17 degrees Capricorn. So that would mean anything in the cardinal signs, Aries or Libra, 17 degrees. Now remember, this is over a period of time. These guys stay retrograde all summer long, okay? It's going to be a while before they go direct again. So this is not going to be some all of a sudden harsh, horrible thing, all right? I think that for a lot of people, they have already been through the worst of it. Because when I wanted to understand, there's another video that's going to be going out either tonight or tomorrow, and it talks about Saturn and Pluto, them both going backwards and revisiting areas of our life, like back in January and February and March. And whoa, March, that's the beginning, you know, February, March, that's the beginning of the COVID-19 crap. Like, were we lucky the first time? Are we going to get hit again? If you go ahead and watch that video, I'll attach the link below, and it gives the breakdown, and it does it in a really in-depth way, so you can really understand specifically for you how you will be affected in your life. The last thing that I do want to mention with this retrograding through your fourth house is to be aware of your emotional security, to be aware of what you're feeling, okay? Now, I don't think there's going to be, well, actually, I can't say specifically because I would need to look at your chart. But this is not going to be something that you haven't already dealt with. It is really a revisit. A retrograde means I need to go over something. There was something that I wasn't fully aware of. There was something that I can probably tweak, maybe make better. And so that's all that means, all right? Now, if you had a hard time in the last 4 months, like January, February, March, April, if there were things that came up that were difficult, you're going to want to take another look. And you're going to want to see how it's going to look for you. And do yourself a favor and comment below so I can do that for you. So I can at least respond by a comment and let you know. This would be my recommendation. Because it's in your home, all right? It's your physical structure. It's where you live, all right? You want a roof over your head, right? You want to feel safe. You want to feel secure. But it's family. It's not just your physical home. It's family, too. That's my fourth house. But again, emotional security. So if there was some rough goings, all right, there might be things that add some anxiety to your emotions because Pluto is all about fear. And it going backwards, if you have something in your fourth house, and if Pluto touches on it, oh, it's going to elevate the fear factor because that's what Pluto does, all right? The last thing I'm going to mention is the full moon ceremony. At the full moon ceremony, I will be creating a sacred fire. And I've been, actually, as soon as the weather broke, I started creating these little fire circles I'm doing. And I used to sit with some Indigenous Americans quite a lot, actually. And so I learned a lot. They taught me a lot. And I've been very, very, very fortunate because I've sat with many different tribes, actually. And I've been assimilating and adapting and honing in on the things that they taught and what I like and what I think works for me. I have a lot of earth in my chart, actually I have a lot of all the elements in a way. But there are things that I emphasize and that I embrace. And so I create prayer ties. And with those prayer ties, it's an offering to the Creator, an offering of tobacco. It's an offering of your words and your intentions. So all you got to do is comment your name below, okay? Use the code name, doesn't matter. Comment your name below. And you're going to leave a one word for what you want to release for this full moon ceremony. Now the ceremony I'm planning on having in by the May 7th, so you want to make sure that you do this before then. Otherwise I won't have time to create your prayer tie. I would like to prepare a couple days in advance, okay? So, hope this has put some light upon your path in Libra Ascendant, Libra Risings. Take care. Bye.